Hey Ottawa, this is Annalee Rice with LePage Performance Realty in Ottawa, Ontario, and today is not Monday. Normally I share the Monday market snapshot, but today is Saturday and I'm going to share with you the monthly stats for the Ottawa Real Estate Board. Not only the standard stats that you get shared elsewhere, but I'm also going to give you the other charts and supporting data that goes along with it. Okay, so these first couple slides are the data that comes from the Ottawa Real Estate Board. First off, we had 1,263 properties that sold in July, and that was a 14.6% increase from July 2022. Later on, I'll talk about month to month, as really that's more important. But when we're looking at the July 2023 versus 2022, we had freehold residential. The sales were up 17.5% as compared to 2022, and the condos were up by about 5.6 year on year from 2022. For the average sale price, we had the average sale price of a freehold, so that's detached townhomes and semis, was $754,000, and that was up 5.1% from 2022. And I think that's the first time we've been up from year on year, but as we know, 2022 we had prices were declining, so this is now the prices are balancing out there. And for condos, we're up 2.1% from the 2022 at an average sale price of $435,000. Okay, so this next slide is all about year-to-date stats. We're taking the average of all the sales throughout 2023 up to the end of July and then comparing it to the same period in 2022. So these look really, really negative. As we know, we're comparing to 2022 when the sales volume was very, very high and the sales prices were obviously very, very high. And so we're comparing kind of apples to oranges there, very negative. But now that we've now surpass the prices that we had at this point in 2022, we should see these negatives continue to become much less negative. And will we reach the same average prices? Time will tell. Perhaps not in the prices. I don't know if we'll get there for the sales volume either, but we'll see more clarity as we go along through the months to come. Okay, so these are the next slides and everything from this point forward are not the Ottawa Real Estate Board stats. These now represent the City of Ottawa boundaries, and these are the stats that I pull weekly and share weekly and monthly. And so this is the graph form for all of the residential sales over the last 12 months in the City of Ottawa boundaries. In the graph form, we see that July sales volume was down significantly from May and June. That's the blue bars. And so we have the combination of holidays, interest rate hikes, slowing things down, and just expensive homes, keeping people out of the market and keeping the market slower than it probably would have been otherwise. The green bars are the average sale price and for the freehold residential homes. And so far through 2023, we see that the prices have been slowly increasing, steady, albeit slow. Okay, so this chart is going to show us the same thing, but for the last 5 years, and it's obviously in a line graph form instead. We see that although the number of sales for 2023 has been higher than what we saw through 2022, the latter half of 2022, 2022 and 2023 are both significantly lower than what the average was in the last 5 years. So you can see that with the blue lines there. When we're looking at the average sale prices, we can see that the average sale price throughout 2023 has been slowly but steadily climbing slightly. And if we see where that sort of intersects with the other previous times, it sort of intersects at about March 2021. That was the peak of 2021 prices. We're at about the same as that. And then also it crosses at about the same of December 2021, January 2022, and then also at about June 2022, because as we know, the average in we're above the July, so we're at about the June prices of 2022. Okay, so this chart is the condominium sales for the last 12 months. We've got the average sale price in green and the number of sales in blue, and we can again see that the number of sales dropped off quite significantly from the last couple months, and the average sale prices for condominiums, as I've said several times, it's a lot more volatile. There's a lot more variances in more luxury condos, lower end condos, and it really depends on what sells in each month to show that. It's not specifically any trends that cause those ups and downs month to month. It's just what sells that month. And here is the last 5 years for condominium sales. We can see that the average prices fluctuate within any year, and the sales volume, you can see 2022 and 2023 is down significantly from past years. Okay, so these are the charts that I share at the sort of month end when in my weekly updates, and I just updated them with the August 4th data. So these are the months of inventory, and just in case you need a refresher, months of inventory is how long it would take to sell the remaining inventory at the current sales rate if no more properties came to the market. So it's influenced by both the number of active listings and also the rate of sales. So with sales dipping by about 25% in July as compared to what we had in June, our level of inventory is climbing, and the months of inventory therefore also climbs. So right now we're sitting at about 2.7 for detached, 2.3 for condos, and 1.7 for townhomes. I expect that probably for August we're going to see this months of inventory again climb. There may be, I think we'll see fewer sales in August than we saw in July. And although we may see a few fewer new listings, I do think that the inventory still continue to grow with the slower sales. This next up is the close price to the original list price. If you're a buyer, it's nice to see that these values are below 100%. It means that you can expect on average to offer less than the asking price. But beware of averages. I've mentioned this several times before, but you have to remember that a house that sells with 10 offers and sells for 50,000 over asking is also in that average, as well as a home that sits for a very long time, has several price drops, and then still sells below its asking price. Averages are just that, they're averages. So this is where your realtor comes into play, their expertise in being able to look into the specific area that you are looking to buy or sell, and also what type of house it is, what those specific types of houses, how many houses are on the market. That's what's going to guide you into not only pricing your home properly to sell, or knowing what the home is worth if it's listed and you're looking to buy it. Okay, so these charts are the average days to sell, and this is for the data for properties that have sold. And I've shared these charts before, but usually just it's 2023 data. So I've increased what I'm showing, and I've included all of the 2022 data as well. And the reason I did that was to try and compare how many days to sell we are at right now versus when we were at about the same price point in June into the early parts of July. So we just wanted to compare those, and they are fairly close to the same. Now, what do we expect for average days to sell as we move forwards? Well, with the inventory climbing and the sales slowing, and I do expect that our average days to sell may continue to climb through August. We'll have to see whether or not we have a bit of an increase of sales through the fall market. And we do typically see average days to sell climb through the late fall. Now, did want to make a point was that although these average days to sell, when you look at 3 to 4 weeks, and when you look back at the early 2022 and the days were like, 5 to 10, it's the 5 to 10 that is abnormal. And when we look back at past years, prior to the pandemic, 2019, the average days to sell was around that 3 to 4 week mark at the quickest time of the year. And prior to 2019, the average in the peak spring market was only about 40 days. So I know we're in a different situation now with prices being so much higher and our housing crisis, but it is important to remember that it's the 5 to 10 days that's the abnormal, and that 3 to 4 weeks it should be normal, and it's quite normal to have it that long. I know it's frustrating as a seller not to have your house sell exactly when you want it to sell, but for buyers and for the prices, to keep moderating the prices and not have them race off and go crazy again, like we saw through the spring markets throughout the pandemic. This is good for having a bit of continuity in the market. So next up, we've got the month-to-month average sale prices, and here I've separated it out. I've separated out semi-detached to give us a little bit more clarity on that, and also separated out condo row townhomes and condo apartments. So when we look at this data, we see that the month-to-month sale prices for detached was up slightly, and then for the other property types, we actually see that they were all negative. So freehold townhomes just down slightly, the other ones down by up to 3 to 6%. And then this next chart is the averages back to 2018, the average sale prices back to 18. And we can see the longer trends here, not just the month to month, but we see that throughout all of 2023, the red line detached homes has been on an increase, and a steady but slow increase the last few months. And with the semi-detached, that's the blue line, we see the volatility there. There aren't that many semi-detached homes, and there's quite a variances in prices on those. So really it depends on, how many are selling and which ones are selling. So we see the up and down month to month on those, but we do see an upward overall trend through 2023. The townhome market, that's the orange line, we've seen that it's been very steady for the last 4 or 5 months, and that they really haven't recuperated as much of the drop from the 2022 peak prices as the other property types. And the condominium market, that's the purple and the green, we do see the continued volatility in those prices. Okay, so that's it for today. On this long weekend, it's Colonel By Day here in Ottawa on Monday. And if you found this interesting, if you like these updates, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe on YouTube, and let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see or hear in future updates. And I hope you all have a fantastic long weekend.